to Jamaica. What would you do to strengthen local arts and performances to help revive the district?
In 90 seconds. You know, we've been working on issues regarding the arts all through the community planning process, and it's complicated. The one thing that preserves the arts better than anything is the affordability of the district. As the district develops and property values go up and rents go up, the artists leave. And that's something that we don't want to happen. The community thrives because of the arts in the district. So we've identified a couple areas where we can really help. In the western zone planning process, the area between Harrison Street and Townsend Street has been zoned for light industrial for ages, and it would be retained that way. No more residential would be allowed into the area, and that tends to keep the area more affordable to artists who are looking for space where they can thrive. It also prevents the kinds of conflicts to occur where you have musicians next to new condo owners and they're always at war with each other. So there's a lot that can be done in that way. Public benefits that are applied to new development can also encourage art-related projects, and that's also been part of the planning process. So thank you.
Do you have a question for Theresa?
Oh, I have a question for Theresa here. That's Theresa. You indicated at the Young Democrats Forum a couple months ago that you do not support Jeff Adachi's sustainable pension reform measure. We have the opportunity here to save taxpayers $170 billion a year. How can business owners and voters trust that you'll be loyal to their interests too?
It's an excellent question, and I think there's a number of reasons I do not support it. Probably the first and foremost is we have to stop putting things onto the unions as opposed to negotiating with the unions. We have collective bargaining units with all the unions. We have been discussing with them. The public sector unions in the last 5 years have bargained $750 million worth of benefits away to help the city in financial crisis. Also, the Adachi bond projects $170 million, but it really is based on actuarial studies, based on investments, and that's a maximum. In addition, the study, the fees would actually start not January 1, but it would start at the end of the current contract that's been negotiated. So those, I'm guessing, are sometime the middle to the end of the year. Thirdly, it looks like it may not be legal based on the existing collective bargaining agreements that we have. So I think in many, many ways it's a political gamesmanship on Adachi's part to try to pull himself away from the progressives into the more moderate camp. I think it's ill-conceived. I don't think it brings the people in who's affected. And even if it was designed for new employees, going forward is one thing. But to overlay it onto collective bargaining agreements we've already established with all these unions and be retroactive to the people who are expecting a certain amount of benefits, I think is unfair, and I don't think we should support it. You've stated several times that District 6 can lead the economic recovery by focusing on our greatest strength, our neighborhood small businesses. Please tell us which of the recent tax proposals you're in favor of, and why you do not believe they will negatively impact the small businesses that you purport to support.
I support. Hold on a second. You have that. I support the hotel tax increase on the ballot. I think that one of the things that we talked about in depth when we had our arts task force that brought together the large and the small organizations delivering the arts infrastructure in the city is that the the amount of funding coming from the hotel industry to essentially pay for all of the services of keeping San Francisco a world-class city actually are more than we can actually do out of the existing hotel tax, and it caused us to actually take some funding for that out of organizations generally funded out of the general fund. So we actually recommended a 2% tax increase to make sure that the services that will keep, like I said, the city a world-class city, provide the street cleaning, provide the amenities and the security, so that we don't have to constantly cut our public service sector. Every time we cut a job in the public service sector, it takes money away from small businesses in this area. It's not just the private sector that decreases the economic activity in this area. It's public sector jobs too. And it also takes the service away from the small business sector. So that's one of the taxes that I actually support. And I hope that y'all can come and help us do that to keep the industry strong and keep small business support strong. And then, by all means. I have a question for Elaine Zamora. Do you support the San Francisco ordinance that requires employers to provide paid sick leave for their employees? Please explain your answer.
Yes, I do. Measure F passed in 2006 with more than 60% voter approval. Its application to even one full, part-time, or temporary employee who is employed within the geographic boundaries of San Francisco assures most employees in San Francisco will be provided paid sick leave benefits. When I ran my law office, I provided 1 sick leave day per month, which is more than the required amount under this ordinance, which requires 1 hour of paid sick leave time for every 30 hours worked. An employer who meets or exceeds the requirements is not required to provide additional paid sick leave. Although the ordinance requires that unused paid sick leave time carry over from year to year, it does limit the accrual of sick time for employers with less than 10 employees to 40 hours. And for employers with 10 or more employees, the accrued paid sick time is limited to 72 hours. In addition, an employer is not required to pay out unused sick leave on termination of employment. An employer who has good personnel policies in place and is a fair and honest employer should have no qualms about providing paid sick leave benefits. An employee who is secure in knowing that they will not be financially burdened by becoming sick will be a better employee who knows they are appreciated and will be an asset to the employer's business. Jane, on the premise that safe neighborhoods are necessary for business attraction and retention, would you agree to limit the number of social service programs that bring parolees, convicts, drug and alcohol substance users into District 6 neighborhoods?
So this is an issue that comes up often in the Tenderloin in particular. There's an impression that a lot of the businesses and the residents have that the Tenderloin is a containment area for a lot of our social ills. And I think to a certain extent, I support a lot of our existing services that are there. They were attracted to the neighborhood because a lot of the residents had needs for mental health care issues, drug rehab, and of course low-income housing. But I am very open to the idea of limiting new services coming in and trying to make sure that we're spreading them around across neighborhoods here in San Francisco. And I think that we have some successful examples where we've been able to place services in the Western Addition and here in South Beach without impacting the neighborhood negatively. But because we're dispersing services, we're able to integrate actually folks more into mainstream society. I think safety is one of the top issues here in District 6, whether it's pedestrian safety or low-level crimes, and we absolutely have to address it. I support community and foot patrol. I think Tenderloin is one of the areas where actually foot patrol doesn't compromise response time to 911 emergency calls. That police can actually get faster to calls by walking than by car. And I think that it's important for us to partner with the schools and also to partner with our small businesses and community-based organizations to create safe routes, something that actually Ms. Zamora is working on with the North of Market Community Benefit District, and giving maps to students and families, many of whom live in the Tenderloin, so they're able to transit safely throughout the district.